product development center in Worcester Courthouse, Ohio, and by which we take our tech base and we're now designing retrofit energy systems. Okay, that technology, as it goes forward now, Ulf has here. What we're doing now, I'm starting to set up a congressional report, and we're starting to set up an area now by which we're going to bring the people of the world together and say, gentlemen, we've got a problem to solve. Bring the experts in, like the Project Manhattan style, project. Come in one accord and say, what are your energy needs? What do you need? We're going to house the engineers that's strictly going to be assigned for one particular area, like home heating system or the home electrical power generation system. This area here deals with military retrofit to the aviation industries here. So as we provide this knowledge, then we must organize people in New Zealand to go ahead and to say, hey, they have the facilities, they have the equipment, they have the plastic mold injection devices. Get a hold of the people that can produce the electronic circuit boards, or the individuals to make the printed circuit boards, or whatever it's needed to make the system. We'll provide the technology, we'll provide the engineering skills, but you're going to have to put it together. And that's what we're after, is to mobilize.
No problem. You provide what you just said and we'll do it.
Yeah, well that's the key, because no one man can do it. I cannot do it. There's only so many hours in a day.
Do you have any cautions about how to avoid coming unstuck or whatever, and getting set up?
Yeah.
From what you've come across with other people doing.
Say that again now.
Any advice on the particular way to set up or the way not to set up to sort of go?
Not incorporate. You can tell about the
not to. The key is that it has to be an independent business entity, not to incorporate. Corporations are geared for takeover. You can take over any corporation in the world, and they can control you very much. The reason why I'm very successful is, number one, I never incorporated. I'm a proprietor, and I operate under what's called the grandfather's clauses. And because I operate on the grandfather's clause, they cannot shut me down or regulate me to a point that I cannot bring the technology out. So I would recommend, I don't know the local laws in New Zealand, but I would say that they're basically the same. And so go to the small independent business. Number two is like I'm going to the plastic mold injectors, or people that have already their facilities and their equipment. Say, look, you need a product to make money. I'm going to provide you the wherewithal to make the product in order to stay in business, and which will aid us. Now we're to set up a distribution center, maybe one, possibly two in New Zealand, that the parts will be made, go to distribution center where they receive the quality control check. Once it goes through the CQing area, then you will have hired out sub-assemblers, or people who will take the various parts, go back and assemble it, test it, bring it back in again, put it in the package form, and ship it out the door. So again, it's a good way to mobilize, in order to mobilize quickly to get the power technology in.
Of course, the other thing this can do is it can generate thousands of jobs.
Yes.
Thousands.
Yes. I don't know what the unemployment here.
High.
to over
5%. You probably have to import people just to get the product, to get it in, to stabilize the economy. Or just work harder. And the next key is that you're going to have to center as to what areas. If the Middle East crisis occurs, then you're going to have to get with me and say what areas it's going to need the power source quickly. Because I don't know what the food supply chain is in New Zealand.
It's trucks.
Huh?
food supply is good.
Yeah, but after so many days, it's gone.
That's right. It's trucks.
See, it's 27 days in the United States. So
We've got a bit of help here because of the natural gas supply.
Yeah.
And we've got CNG and LPG is locally produced, so it helps a bit.
We have actually got quite a large oil supply, which is they can up the production.
About 70%
Yeah.
for a short term.
yeah, for short term.
Only
So
short term.
so then you got a 30%.
See, like the natural gas here alone, they strip the hydrogen out of it before it's supplied to the motor car.
Yeah.
And the Auckland Gas Company takes the hydrogen out again when it gets here, but there's still a little bit left. So they take the hydrogen out of the natural gas when it gets to Auckland. So the natural gas cars that run on natural gas are gutless,
Yeah.
no power at all.
Yeah. What a waste. Yeah, most of the oil companies, you'll see today, the international ones are dispersing. they're divesting so fast it's unbelievable because they know that the raw material is no longer there. And so they're going in every areas that they can imagine, not concentrating on the areas of oil.
Like tobacco companies.
Huh?
Like tobacco companies.
Yeah. So maybe New Zealand, it seems like it's a little bit better off than the United States. There are other countries, like for example, like in the North Sea, England and some of the Scandinavian countries and other European countries felt that they were safe. That well, we've got our oil reserves up here in the North Sea. Well, last year alone, the pressure in the North Sea dropped by 1/3, and it's dropping more today. So in 1 year, it dropped by 1/3 of its capacity. And don't think England is not vexing greatly today, because they're in a point of shutting down the nuclear power plants. And Sweden is in the process of, what, next year or so they're supposed to be shutting down their nuclear power plants.
There will be more. No?
Yeah, so,
Yeah, we've got Siemens down here trying to sell this government another its first nuclear power
Yeah,
station.
there is considerable interest in amongst the powers that be to put in nuclear stations in New Zealand.
Oh,
We're working on it now, so we've got to get in fast.
yeah, they don't, they have not solved the problem on radiation and the hourglass effect.
They never will.
What
Yeah.
plan of attack do you recommend? I know you've outlined us briefly as to how we should get this into operation, but what's your first move to sort of tie this all up so that people
Yeah.
like myself and everyone else here can get involved in
Get back with me as soon as possible. My fax number is 614-871-8075. And write me and get back with me and how you feel that we can implement this technology. I know nothing of New Zealand. You live here, and you would know the best approach. So I need what you feel would be the most ideal approach to move, both from a standpoint of a national emergency situation,
Would it-
and the other one being in without a war condition.
Does it relate to, say, the application of natural gas on a motor car? You know how that's applied. Would it relate to that sort of situation?
Yes,
No, sure.
A retrofit kit would be very
Yeah,
similar.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, a retrofit.
So there are natural gas fitters within this country already.
Yeah, so we need to
Oh, they
recreate
could
it.
fit them without any trouble at all.
So the fitting equipment is there already. It's all in place. There's
Well, you can't hook it up.
Maybe-
You can't hook it up to a conventional carburation system or an LP gas
can't.
system. You cannot do that. No.
But what I'm saying is that these organisations that are got the in the position of retrofitting a natural gas system to
Yeah.
a motor car can, because of their experience, I see as being a natural person to go towards
Because
them fitting the
they're
retrofit equipment, the hydrogen retrofit equipment to an ordinary motor car.
Yeah. Well, here again, it depends on who controls them.
What about the
You know.
the thought of actually doing a national news release on this, like one that they can't stop? And the way that we could do this is by having a car in New Zealand that runs on the fuel cell.
Now, let me give you a classic example. We were preparing a car to come to Australia and run in the Solar Australian race, right? And we were calibrating and debugging the pre-engineering unit. And the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, that we got through the fax machine, the sponsors that was going to bring us over, the contract boiled out to be nothing more than a deed of property transfer and a bill of sale on the dune buggy. For the price of plane tickets coming off Australia to show how you can run a car on water, I will assure you we would have never got in the race the first day. The way that the contract was written. So unfortunately, there are those who seek not to allow it to come, and so it has to come by not through the federal government and not through the multinationals.
But the thing is, all these LPG fitters and so on, these gas fitters, have to be licensed to handle all the explosive gas and all that sort of thing. And so instantly regulations would try and stop this hydrogen cell
Oh yeah.
for that, from that point of view.
There's no explosive gas
There's no
until you put your foot on the accelerator.
Yeah, that's right. See, it's a
There's
constant
none
demand
generated
generator.
until you need it.
So we solved
There's no,
these.
there's no
Convince the powers
storage.
that be of that.
Well,
Sure.
you can, of
It's
course
It's
you
in the
can.
patent.
You
It's in the
save them.
patent. It's in the patent.
Yeah.
There's this. I mean, you don't have the problem of storing hydrogen gas under high pressure.
Well,
None
yeah,
of
that's
that.
ordinary water in the tank.
Yeah. So you see on, like for example, on impact, you have an electronic jar switch on the. We got the green light to take the technology and demonstrate it, like in the Indy 500. And we showed them, in fact, that the technology was ultra safe.
Safer than petrol.
Yeah, because it was electronically, we can shut it down. If the fuel cell, let's say, is retrofitted to an existing car, then on impact, it would activate the jar switch, would shut down the electronic circuits, which would de-energize the system. So if on an impact, if the housing of the fuel cell was ruptured in any way, the only thing that's coming out is natural water.
Well, the things that sort of help us is maybe some copies of some of your go-ahead literature that has been approved in other places, so we can say, look, you know,
Oh yeah, sure.
this work's already been done.
All of this would be provided.
I still
Is
think
there any
that
storage with the hydrogen and oxygen somewhere? I mean, you'd have to have something in order to start it.
just a
You
cheer,
don't
cheer from
It's a
yourself.
it's a
Just,
conversion process.
Yeah, and just very little. You only need just a little cupful of gas to do this. A cupful of gas means nothing as far as you're going to spark ignite it. It's only going to release it out of a pressure release valve and just go pop and that's it. So I've been designing.
So how do you start the engine? In the conventional way with a battery and a...
You touch the engine and leave it exactly as it is. You don't change the spark plugs. You change nothing on it. To retrofit to an existing car, all you do is pull off the gas tank. You put the fuel cell in place of it. You run your spark arrestor gas line from the fuel cell up to front of the car. You hook it to a hydrogen injector system, and then you take one electrical lead, hook it to the battery of your car. You fill it up with water, turn the ignition on, start it, and run down the road.
Would you say that your kit
And,
so far, sorry, have you finished?
One other area
And
is
you
that
mentioned the hydrogen injector. What's that? Is that something you produce or
Produced on demand all the time, on demand.
they're already available?
yes, it's already available. So
It works
it's-
on the vacuum, I suppose. The demand process, testing the vacuum in the inlet manifold all the time. So when you open your accelerator, the vacuum increases, and so therefore, when you open your butterfly and say your vacuum increases, it senses that you require more.
Now we developed, if you see the pamphlet that I have on the dune buggy, look at the electronic control system up on the dashboard. That's referred to as your GMS unit, or gas management system. And there's some unusual characteristics. What happened in the prior state of the art in running a car on hydrogen is they tried to go to a hybrid system, trying to take the technology that they had used in running gasoline and saying, well, let's try to see if we can run the car on hydrogen. And hydrogen has totally different operational characteristics. And so it was a requirement that a full and complete new design approach would have to be in order to allow the hydrogen to run very efficiently. And so the gas management system was developed to take care, and specifically it was designed around handling the hydrogen gas, because hydrogen, as an example, not only releases energy almost 3 times more than that of gasoline, but it also moves 3 times, the atoms moves 3 times faster than air. So hydrogen has a very narrow window of combustion, and so it was a requirement that this narrow window of combustion would be maintained regardless of the RPM of the engine. Whereas in the prior state of the art, they simply peaked the operation of the carburetor around 60 miles per hour, and then as you go lower or higher, then the fuel mixture would change. So it became tremendously important for us to design the engineering retrofit to around the characteristic of the hydrogen atom to allow that engine to run very uniformly. Another limitation to the technology was they were trying, for example, to take hydrogen and put water down in the injection. That was mixing liquid with hydrogen, which became a very radical form of operations. In other words, the vehicle had to run at very high RPMs and had erratic starting conditions. So we've eliminated all of the prior art difficulties in running hydrogen. So when we run the car and demonstrate it, and you will get news to this as we bring this out, we'll show that in fact we have the engineering design retrofit solved in order to run that engine very, very smoothly. That's where we take our technology now and reduce it down to the IC chips. So under normal conditions, they're telling me that they can convert the electronics down to an IC chip in less than 6 months. But under wartime condition, we possibly could get it done within a week and a half. And all of our electronics was designed under TTL computer compatibility, which gave us the abilities to now miniaturize the circuitry.
Makes it a lot more stable than using something else too.
Yeah.
Two questions, Stan. How would you describe your converter kits at the moment in terms of their refinement? Do you see much more refinement being necessary, or are you a very refined system in operation right now, or close to?
Yeah, we are in the latter stages of debugging the system to give us to look at our performance and reliability performance. And it has been all of our electronics has been developed on the highest state-of-the-art technology. I had to invent a laser distributor and a laser accelerator. We had to design new electronic circuit logics to do this. Okay, that is all now being totally finalized for mass production. So we'll be running and debugging the systems to test it out to make sure all the electronic circuits are working properly. Once that is done, then the decision is go for mass production. And mass production simply entails getting with the experts in the field of the plastic industry. We'll be using Delron materials as the material for the unit because Delron has good characteristics and molding characteristics, and it acts as an electrical insulator and chemical inert to the process. And so once that decision is made, then we should have units out the door in less than 6 months.
So you are 6 months from a prototype for demonstration purposes.
Well, under normal, I would say 18 to 24 months. Under wartime situations, we could possibly have units out the door in
Yeah, but
less
that's
than
units out the door, that's not a prototype. I mean, the unit we have is like a prototype.
that's called pre-engineering.
How close are you? Okay, put it this way. Suppose we were desirous of getting, in a condition here in New Zealand, a working model to demonstrate, not necessarily to power a car yet, but a working model to demonstrate the technology as a sales angle, if you like. How close would you be to that right now?
Well, that would be the production unit in 18 to 24 months.
So we're looking at quite a time lag.
I actually don't
No.
see it as important to actually having a demonstration model. I think it's probably more important to have a model that works and set in one system and sell that and basically sell them from the point of view where you've got one working, the guy takes it and then you go and get another one. That has a mushrooming effect where you don't have to go and demonstrate. A word of mouth will look after that, because this is like, we all know how incredible this system is. It doesn't need to be demonstrated, it just needs to work.
It needs to be shown to exist.
No,
Well,
but proof of the pudding is in the fact that you've got one working.
That's right. So we need a working model.
That's what we need, a working model.
That's why the pre-engineering is now being finalized.
That's what I'm saying.
If you tell them.
The point is, if a person's got one, right, he's got one there, and the person goes, "Shit, where did you get that from?" And you find it, and it'll spread like wildfire.
Of course it will. Yeah.
You don't need to demonstrate it.
No, we need the first model I mean, the fastest way to get like you're going to need money to set up the terms, like small amounts of money, thousands, to set up the manufacturing procedures in New Zealand. And to generate that cash, we want to generate interest. And the way we can generate interest is with a working model.
Yeah.
We can say, here it is, here's the water out of the tap.
But
pour it
then
in,
you
drive
go
down
into
the
the
road.
financier to get the money.
We don't need to go to near a financier.
Yeah.
He will be offering us
Yeah,
money.
I want to assure you one thing. The day you have that unit sitting there, you don't have to sell the first unit.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
The only thing they're going to need, one thing, is how much and how fast can I get it.
Exactly.
And they're going to have a name. And what happened in the United States is that I had two businessmen when we were developing the technology, standing out the door waiting for me to talk to me. And I was on the phone in my laboratory, and all of a sudden I heard these two well-heeled gentlemen fighting outside. They were yelling at each other. They said, "I'm here first, I want my units, and I want mine." Well, the one guy was selling 100 homes and couldn't sell the homes because he had no fuel. And the other guy said, "Look, man, my industry's going down. I don't have any fuel to sell cars." And they're both right. And I finally realized, well, the only way I can save it is to say, well, you put it on the first come, first served. In other words, you put the person's name down, and you say, well, give me a deposit X amount of money, and manufacturing unit 1,205 is yours. And when that's produced, you got it. So I don't think you're going to have too much money as far as...
That's what I was saying.
In a similar position to do that with you in terms of getting the first unit.
Oh, absolutely. And the way I'm doing this is like in the United States, it's dealerships. I can't say they're franchises. They have to be dealerships. And dealerships is nothing more than a legal license to act on my behalf in business. And basically the license is around that you must do your business honestly and forthrightly according to the laws in your land. I mean, if you cheat and on your taxes and you get zapped, well then I'll give it to somebody else. And then there is a stopgap that you can't resell your dealership to some foreign entity. If you want to sell it, well then you have to sell it for the amount of monies that you originally have in it. And Water Fuel Cell makes will screen the person to say, hey, you're not selling this to an Arab. You know, like I had fought a tremendous battle where there were a certain group of Japanese that came in to try to block the technology for the world. And I'm assuring you, if they were very successful, we'd be talking, all of us would be talking Japanese. Because as I said, in the wrong hands, man, you could destroy the economy of the world, or you can manipulate the economy of the world. So it becomes important. So I've set the entity up in a way that you got to do it honestly and forthrightly. So it's a license, but I don't sell you the technology. And so the same philosophy we're doing in the United States, I'm doing it for every country of the world, to allow the vehicle to come in that we be successful.
Stan?
Yes.
I reckon in 18 months' time, when your vehicles come off the assembly line, you'll have a hard job remembering New Zealand.
Well, I tell you, if you've been in our laboratory, we get responses from all over the world. And my purpose was to protect the technology for the United States, as well as to the world, and the Lord has allowed me to accomplish the task. Now, the Arabs offer me over $1 billion cold cash to sit on the technology and don't do anything with it. Now, if you offered me money back in 1975, it would probably taken me about 10 billionth of a degree of a second to accept it. But it would not agree with me to go down into the Bahamas and watch the United States go or any other countries go. Unfortunately, when you develop something, you have a responsibility to that knowledge. And we're talking about responsibility of stabilizing. You know, if the oil's cut off to us tomorrow and it's contaminated, you know, the food supply chain of the world is roughly around 27 days. After 27 days, or once that food supply chain is disrupted, you're talking within 120 to 180 days, possibly over 1 billion people facing starvation. Now that's one heck of a fantastic responsibility.
If that happens soon, we'll have no show of replacing the technology at this rate.
Right. So at this time, we can pull the resources of each country of the world and say, gentlemen, just like we're making approaches in the Congress and everything for the monies and appropriations, we do the same thing. Say, hey, we need X amount of money to bring it in. If we get you behind us, if I come back over to New Zealand, and I'm not going to forget New Zealand, the Lord's not going to forget New Zealand, nor is he going to forget any other country. And so I believe it's going to be we're a conference that we're going to come together and say, this is what we need to do.
So we need to get ourselves on your list and figure out how much money we need to raise to get those.
Yes, and right. And then I'll send you the information on the dealerships and things like that.
Maybe we should also manufacture them under license here.
Yes. Well, the key is yes. And what we're doing is, for an example, is designing master molds. Now, once the master molds are debugged, okay, that they're operating properly, then all we do is make copies of the master molds. And we send you copy molds, or I'll send you the drawing. And go to a machinist and say, make that exactly according to the specs. You see what I'm saying?
That's what we'd like to be doing soon, because we can start exploring all those avenues before anything comes off your production line.
Yeah. Well, yes, and that's what I need, because we're almost finalized with our work. Once that car's up and running, it's going to run continuously. We've designed it in a way for tremendous high performance and high performance reliability. The laser distributor, laser accelerator, its minimal operation hours is 100,000 hours. So when you talk about conventional electronics, we got electronic circuits that's been working for 23 to 40 some years without a malfunctioning. So we have high reliability systems approach.
I think that's the way we want to go.
Yeah.
Is setting up the manufacturing here straight away as soon as possible.
Yeah.
How long do you anticipate being in New Zealand for currently?
Well, I think we'll be here maybe another 2 to 3 weeks. Hopefully see some of the sites.
Yeah. Sites to see.
Yeah. So maybe we can work it out, get some of your thoughts down on paper, and then we can get together before I go back.
Yes.
Because this is what I need.
What I would like to suggest now, if I could, not to close the meeting off or anything, but to make sure we do it, since we all more or less have an idea of what's happening here, and it's interesting to see Stan has echoed so many things we opened the discussion with about decentralization, the money system, etc., is whether we can get a commitment towards a group of people right now, today, who are willing to take this further to the stage of committing to form an association. An idea that occurred to me, just to give it a buzz and there, is something like the Exponential Energy Association of New Zealand, something like that. It could be anything, but something that gives us a chance to say, okay, we want to become a group that works in this town. I move that motion now. Is anybody would like to second it?
Why don't we call it Water Fuel Cell New Zealand Limited?
Yeah, that's right. That's all we call it, Water Fuel Cell New Zealand.
And just follow Stan's lead.
The name is irrelevant. All we want now is a commitment. Do we want to move, that we start to bind ourselves together?
Yes, absolutely.
Most definitely.
Fantastic.
All those who say aye?
Aye. So
Praise the Lord. We call
We
it
have passed the
step.
motion and we form the committee. Yeah, members all commit. Deb?
Have you got any travel plans worked out yet? Can we figure out a date to maybe set the business meeting up
Yeah.
on your way back through?
What I'm going to try to do is try to get some of the the dealership manuals here.
Before you leave?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Well, what about the technical manuals of what you're doing? That's,
Or we can send that to you later.
No, we'll send that to you later. There's some of the technology that I'm still clearing, and once I get it cleared,
Is there any help for one of us to come over and see you at Ohio?
at this stage of the game, no. Allow us to go on and finish the work and complete our paperwork, and once that's done, then we talk, and we get together. And then I would say come, and then we'll sit down and discuss it. I love the fax machine.
No, that's right, isn't it? I got one at home.
Yeah. So if you got them, then we'll start faxing. That to me is the fastest and easy way to start to coordinate.
we best start working here and let you get on with your business back here.
Yeah.
To start to explore structures and problems. And I still think that the initial problems we talked about, let's not be naive, I still think the initial problems we talked about will have to be addressed. That is that we're going to come up against a lot of opposition. The steps to remedy that will have to be looked at, government lobbying, etc. That will all have to form part of the discussion.
On behalf of everyone, Stan, I thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you.